How well do you do at implementing and holding boundaries? If you are somebody who's wanting to make a career change into something that is more fulfilling, more rewarding, that fills your cup, that energizes you at the end of the day, this video is going to be important to you. And that's because if you are wanting to make a career change, I have seen this time and time again, your ability to create boundaries in your life is a large determining factor in whether A, you are successful at making a career change, and also how quickly you are able to make one. So if this sounds like something you are dealing with right now, trying to manage a career change, but you're finding you don't have enough time, energy, and resources, I would encourage you to watch this video. Before I dive into the topic, if you are somebody who's feeling stuck right now, wants to make a career change, but doesn't really know what to do next, or is just not even sure what to think about what to do, I have created a free guide on how to create a professional life that you love. I'm going to put the link down below. It contains questions to ask yourself, things to think about, as well as common mistakes to avoid. So I encourage you to check that out if you're in that place of trying to figure out what to do next. So now I want to dive into today's topic, boundaries. Now, first of all, off the top, I want to say, I don't think this is most people's favorite topic. And that's why at the beginning, I really wanted to mention that this can actually be a determining factor on how successful you are, or even if you are successful in making a career change. If you look around you in this world, there are so many things that are pulling at your time, energy, money, all your resources. That's the world that we live in. And when I look around the world and I talk to as many people as I do and work with as many people as I do, one thing I know for sure is that most people do not have boundaries, and therefore they're not able to focus on their priorities, what's important to them, and therefore they don't have that sense of fulfillment and joy. So having healthy boundaries is really a foundational piece to being able to create really experiences in your life that you love. I talk about alignment a lot in my content, and when you're looking at your career, this is what alignment looks like. So you are a person and you've got success needs, you've got your core values, you have the experiences you've had in your life, lifestyle requirements, things you want for your life, the way your life is. Having a career in alignment with you is really having a career that reflects those pieces of you. So to have things that are in alignment means you're saying yes to those pieces, which also means you're saying no to others. And that's where the boundaries comes in. And this is why, at like a high level, why this is so important is really boundaries is about getting really clear on your priorities, your intentions, and your goals, and focusing your attention on those things, but also excluding the other things. You can't do both. It's just not possible. So in this video, I want to talk about 5 different types of boundaries. I'm sure there are more, but I want to touch on 5 of them. And I also want to give you some examples of how this could show up in your life by some of the examples of how it's shown up in my life. First of all, I want to say boundaries is not a popular topic, I think, because it can feel really awkward at first to start implementing them. If you are somebody who hasn't had a lot of healthy boundaries in your life, it can feel uncomfortable. I was like that 20 years ago. I did not have any boundaries. I actually didn't even know what boundaries were. Like if somebody said to me, you have no boundaries, I would have been like, I have no idea what you're talking about. They were so non-existent. I grew up in a household where there were no boundaries. And so I had a really unhealthy relationship. Well, non-existent really, but in my own eyes, but really unhealthy relationships. So I had to implement them. And what I know is at first it was uncomfortable, but I pushed myself through. I had to. But what I learned is that, first of all, it gets way, way easier the more you practice. It's like anything in life. It's not fun at first when you're first starting to learn something. You feel really awkward, really uncomfortable. You're saying the wrong things. You're doing it the wrong way. You're making mistakes, and that's okay. You're gonna make mistakes. It's going to feel awkward, but it gets better. Have some grace and compassion for yourself. This is something you haven't done. Of course, it's going to feel, weird, right? Second of all, when you experience the benefits of having healthy boundaries in place, it really overshadows any of the discomfort you have felt. It's a game changer. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to mince it here. I actually love boundaries. Having healthy boundaries has been a huge part of my success in my life. Now, before I jump into the types of boundaries that you can have and some examples, I just want to share briefly a bit about my story, because I'm a single parent. I have been a single parent since December of 2008, so a really long time. In that time, I've been raising 2 daughters pretty much by myself most of the time. Not a lot of family support really at all. And I had a career as a CPA, and I transitioned my career into a coach. So I think if you looked at my life, I think most people would say, wow, like not a lot of time, not a lot of, extra of anything. The reason why I tell you this is because I look back, and a big, and I mean a big part of how I'm in the position that I am in right now is 100% boundaries. Being really clear on what I want, what I deserve, what I'm willing to go for, and holding those boundaries, holding myself accountable to them and holding others accountable to them. I cannot stress this enough, but I want to empower you. That's why I'm sharing that. It's kind of like, to be honest, if I can do this, you can do it. And I truly believe that. I truly believe it. I don't believe anybody special. I believe I am just a person who has made choices, as we all do. And my choice has been around getting clear on my priorities and then implementing boundaries. So I want to talk about 5 different types of boundaries now. Now, the first one is one of the most obvious ones and one of the most important ones when it comes to a career shift, and that is time. I don't think there's anybody I've worked with in terms of clients who's ever come to me and said, yeah, like I don't have to put a lot in at work. Actually, I can think of one person right now who's in a current career like that. But it's very rare. It's very, very rare. By far, the majority of people come to me and are like, I'm working 60 hours a week. It is really, really challenging. It's going to be really challenging to make a career change unless you can pull that back. And I'm not talking drastic steps. I'm not talking about going into your employer tomorrow and going, oh, I'm only working 40 hours a week. That's it. That's all you pay me for. That's it. I'm done. It's about gradually, especially if you've been doing this for a really long time. That's the thing about boundaries. We don't do it guns a-blazing. We start off gently and softly and play with it, okay? So, it might be not looking at your emails on the weekends. That might be where you start, but start. It might be shutting off every day at 6 p.m. Again, not looking at your emails or not doing any work. Exceptions might apply. There's always going to be exceptions in life. But as a general rule, to start putting parameters around how much time you are going to give to your current employer and your current job. And you might think this sounds really scary, and I get it. I had to do it myself. And I was the only one at times doing this because I was in corporate too, right? I get it. And I was an accountant, a CPA. That is the expectation, that you work a lot of hours. So I was there. I did this too. And it's about taking little steps. But you have to start. Just start moving. And if it does feel too scary, there's a question I want you to ask yourself and really think about. This question is, what is the price you're going to pay for not implementing them? Because often when we don't want to do something, we really underestimate the risk of doing exactly what we are right now. So in other words, we we don't really take into consideration like what will happen to you if you don't implement boundaries. Where's your stress level going to be? How happy are you going to be in 10 years, 5 years, 2 years? And sometimes we have to do that. We have to weigh a not very comfortable situation against a worse discomfort position. Sometimes that's just the way it goes. Now, you might be having to implement boundaries in other areas of your life where you are being, pulled in terms of your time. Ask yourself, is me spending time on this really what I want? Really what I desire? Is it helping me get to my goal? And sometimes your goal can just be happiness in that moment, joy. But how many times do we do other things out of obligation? How many times do we say yes to things we really want to say no to just because the no is uncomfortable? And then we either begrudgingly go or we cancel out at the last minute. I mean, why do we have this ghosting problem? One of the reasons is that we can't say no to people. We think it's too uncomfortable, so we do the other thing, which to me is entirely worse. So you have to start asking yourself questions like, what do I really want? Is this in alignment with what I want to create for my future? And if it's not, it might be having some conversations with some people in your life and just sharing, and sometimes it is just about sharing. Like, I'm really working on this right now and I just don't have the time. I'd love to, but it's just, I can't right now because I'm working on this other thing, or I'm just something like that. I mean, you've got to figure it out. It's your situation, it's your life. And if somebody can't understand that or honor that, then you have to also question, do I want this person in my life? Do I want this situation in my life? And those can be difficult questions. But if you want to change your life, if you want to change your career and actually have a sense of joy and fulfillment, be energized, because changing your career doesn't just change your career. Like, changing your career changes your whole life. It truly does. Because imagine getting to the end of your day and actually being energized instead of drained. That's huge. Having your evening to yourself instead of, watching Netflix or whatever it might be that you do, or any of us do, really. So it's significant. It has a big impact. So just ask yourself some questions. Is this in alignment? And start taking little steps. And if you lead with integrity, which is so important in all of this, just lead with integrity. Be honest. Share. It can feel uncomfortable, I get it, but trust me, it will get you, further ahead in your priorities. There may be people who don't understand this, but that's more about them and not about you. And you have to decide. You have to decide who is more important. Okay? So the second one is energy. Now, when you look at a career change, what can often happen if you're not happy in your current career is you spend a lot of time ruminating on it, which is your energy. So you're not maybe working, but are you at home after work? Maybe even talking to your spouse about it or talking to your friends about it, like having to get some of the stuff off your chest because you're not really loving and enjoying it. And I get it. Again, I was there too. Lying awake at night, thinking about problems all the time. And so this is going to be more discipline with yourself. And so when you find yourself maybe going down that rabbit hole and thinking thoughts and ruminating and going through all the stuff, is finding ways to shift your focus. That takes discipline. That takes really holding yourself accountable. And that does take some work. Because if a big part of success is actually controlling your mind. Is a huge part of it. Huge, huge part of it. How fast you can shift a negative spiral. That's a big part of success. So having boundaries around your energy and where you put your energy into is going to be significant. The third one I've got is emotional and spiritual boundaries. So this means, and this might look like, do you listen to fear-based news? Most of the news on cable TV and, and social media is not good. Now, I'm not saying don't be aware of it, but I don't know anybody who can watch the news and feel good afterwards. And how are you to create something that you love and you enjoy if you are feeling awful about life, awful about the economy, there's so much going on in our world right now. And you might say, well, I need to be informed. Do you? It's hard to escape. I don't watch the news. I haven't had cable for a very long time. I wish I knew when I stopped, but it's got to be 10 years, 8 to 10 years, I think, if I guess. I still know what's going on in the world. You can't escape it. It's really hard to escape. So you will say, well, I got to keep informed, but trust me, you will. You will. But how much energy are you giving to that? You know? How much focus are you giving to the negative? There are a lot of people who are really operating from a victim mentality right now. And if you surround yourself with people in that space, or like a blame mentality, that's really big right now too. There's a lot of people who do not want to take responsibility for their own lives at all right now. It's blame somebody else. Let's blame the economy. Let's blame the government. Let's just go through the whole gamut, right? And I'm not saying these things aren't partly responsible for where we're at, absolutely. But it's not helpful, right? So knowing all these things isn't going to make you feel good. And to make a change in your life, you need to actually feel optimistic and confident and positive. Again, it's not about discrediting what's going on, but how much energy do you want to give? How much of your emotional state? Because if you're watching a lot of fear, that's going to translate into you having fear of moving forward. And it's going to really slow you down, if not stop you. So the fourth boundary I want to talk about is mental. And this one's kind of tricky. And this is really about, who do you listen to? There are a lot of experts in this world. There are a lot of people who write books. There are a lot of people who have social media accounts. There are a lot of people talking. There are a lot of people sharing. And there are a lot of people who are really valuable. There are a lot of people who are putting out content that is not great. There are people who are going to resonate with you, and there are people who are not. There's all kinds out there. There's a bit of everything. If you listen to everybody, you will be super confused on what to do. It's about picking a few ideas, maybe it's a few people, and sticking with that. This is such an interesting phenomenon that I see. I get told, suggested by people all the time, you should read this book. Oh, did you listen to this podcast? Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? And my answer is no. And then I get, well, you might want to, or I'd suggest this, or people making recommendations, and I don't ever do any of it. And it's not because I think I know everything, far from it. There are so many hours in a day, and I am focused on what I'm doing. And if I listen to all the opinions and all the perspectives out there of all these different people, I'm going to be so confused. I mean, if I look at, so I'm going to share about my business. So that's a million different ways to run a business, okay? The kind of business that I'm running, there are a million different ways. Some are going to work for me and some aren't. But if I go on to, some of these social media platforms and, somebody will have content that says, this is what you're doing wrong in your business. And if I read every one of those, I'm going to be so confused and so overwhelmed. I will be in analysis paralysis. And that's what I see happening with a lot of people as they go into complete analysis paralysis because they've got so many viewpoints coming into them. Like for myself, I have maybe 5 or 6, maybe 7 people that I listen to. Content that I follow, like coaches that I also sign up with, whether it's coaching or some of their programs or some of their trainings, and there are different areas. I've got like a mindset, money mindset coach. I've got one on just mindset completely, different types. But these people all really resonate with me. and I'm getting what I need from them. And so when someone says to me, oh, did you listen to this podcast? Oh, did you do this over here? If I need something, I'll go looking for it. Like if I'm like, okay, I have this gap in my life, I need to learn this, I will seek out a resource, and I do it all the time. But what I see happening with a lot of people is they're just, somebody says, oh, you should do this, and they do. You should listen to this person, they're great. And they could be great, they could be freaking amazing. But if it's not resonating, or if it's not what you need in that moment, it's not helpful. Got to protect this. You got to protect your mindset and what you're pulling in. Is it in alignment? Does it feel focused? Does it feel like it's supporting you and moving forward? Is it helpful? Or is it just information? We have a plethora of information out there. Is it helping you? Because if it's not, it doesn't matter how amazing the person is and how amazing their content is. If it's not what you need and it's not helping you move forward, why bother with it? We are not living in the age of a lack of knowledge. That's not our problem. Our problem has got to do more with focus, application, all different kinds of, accountability, all different things, but it's not lack of knowledge. If you want to know something, there is a resource out there. I'm going on a little bit on this one because this is where I see people consistently fall off, is they listen to everything under the sun. And same with me. If you're not resonating with me, if you're not getting value from what I am providing, please turn me off. Please just turn this video off, unsubscribe to my newsletter if you're on my newsletter, or, don't follow me on social media. I don't want you to keep following me if it's not resonating. And if I'm not creating value for you, have to have a boundary around it. It's okay to say, this person doesn't provide anything for me right now. And you know what? They might a year down the road, or they might have a year ago, but you've grown past them, because that can happen too. Not supposed to follow the same teachers for 10 years. Because chances are, if you are, you're not evolving. Got to be keeping, evolving and growing and adapting. So guard your mental energy, guard what you're bringing into your thoughts and how you do things. It's super, super important. Now the fifth one, money. Your financial resources. Have boundaries around your financial resources. Now how can this show up? So many ways. Something I observed many years ago, I actually used to do some financial planning many years ago. And something I observed, and it's continued with the work I do now, is when people are unhappy in their careers and their life, they tend to overspend. It's a really interesting observation. It's this kind of compensation. It's like, I'm not happy during my day, so I deserve this. And I get it. We're trying to find some joy. We're trying to create some joy in our lives by buying ourselves, maybe it's an $8 coffee. Maybe it's a new handbag. I don't know what it is for you, right? Going on vacation. When maybe you're going on credit card. There's a lot of way we spend our money on things that we don't necessarily need, don't necessarily really want, and they're just symptoms of something else. Now, I love money and I love abundance. So I'm not saying don't spend your money. I'm not saying, don't do all these things. It's about being mindful. Why are you spending your money on what you're spending it on? And look at the different ways we can spend money. You've got your living expenses. You've got your extras, right? Like say your entertainment, things like that. But you've also got things that you can invest in, whether it be a retirement, a savings account, but also yourself. And often that's the category that we overlook completely. If you're wanting to create a career that you love, money has to be part of this. There are definitely people who don't make a career change. I found this more with men than with women, but overall, who don't make a career change because of money. But the truth of the fact is, a lot of times it's just about shifting how we're spending our money and how we have spent it in the past. I have worked with a lot of people who have made a lot of money, who don't actually have a lot to show for it. Abundance isn't just about making money, it's actually about what you do with it once you have it and if you have it. There are people who've made $50,000 a year who are millionaires. There are people who are making $250,000 a year, every year after year after every year, and have nothing to show for it. So abundance isn't just about making money, it's about spending money. So how are you spending your money? If a charity comes to you and asks for money, do you automatically give it to them? Are you spending a lot of money on, your leisure time, but then you're struggling in your career, but you don't want to spend money on whether it be like an online program or, coaching or a book or something? Where you spend your money is really telling you where your priorities are. Your time and your money are easiest things to quantify. Do you want to find out what your priorities are in life? Look at your calendar, where you're spending your time, and look at your bank account and look at where you're spending your money. That will tell you what your priorities are, no matter what you say they are. Those don't lie, right? Are you spending money on things that you could be investing in yourself to get you to a better place? The great thing about when you have a career that's in alignment with you, it changes how you see money completely. And that's a whole separate video. I'm not going to really get into it now, but so much of our society, we are taught that you have to struggle to make money or suffer to make money. And when you work in a career you love, it's an interesting shift because you get to have fun when you make money, and it's a really powerful shift. So making that shift in your career, it brings up all the issues and the ways in which we let money control us and where we give our power away to money. So just be mindful. Or do you have boundaries of where you're spending your money? And is it really what you want to be doing? Is it taking you to where you want to be? Or is it trying to help make you feel better in the moment? And is there a better way of helping you make you feel better in the moment? And only you have that answer to that question. So I'm going to leave this video here. I'm at 27 minutes. This is a very long video, but it's an important topic, like I said at the beginning. And if you have enjoyed this video and if you have had value in it, please do like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it so much, and I will talk to you soon.